Hello, party people. Welcome to 2022. I hope everyone was able to introduce the new year in a way that brought them happiness. Variety of ways for a variety of people. Myself personally, I'm pretty stay-at-home-ish in general. Pandemic completely aside, it's just another Saturday for me. Like, honestly, I was working. And when it comes to our social interactions, depending on where you live, I can only hope that you were able to participate in a way that was important to you while being mindful of public health guidance and recommendations and mandates and so on, depending on where you live. Or if you were able to go ahead and connect remotely with something like a Zoom call, and even most importantly, like I was alluding to in 2 episodes ago, if I remember correctly, for marginalized individuals, that the holidays are a long time, and that is including New Year's, and I can only hope that my call to action for people hearing that message of being mindful of the company you keep, that was exercised properly. And to all the marginalized individuals who are watching this, I truly hope that you were able to have an introduction into 2022 with the people who make you feel welcome, who make you feel happy, who give you space too. I can only hope that we will hopefully see a lot of education from the past 2 years get applied into this year so that we can ensure that we are not continuing to spin our tires, trying to go backwards in time and accept the reality of the world, whether that is in terms of gender diversity, no matter how much people still continue to contradict it, whether it comes to the medical side of things, no matter how much people want to criticize that, and so on. Let us acknowledge how the world is operating, and let's move forward. No better time than the present to start. So here's hoping 2022 starts great. Let's get into dwell on it. To break the fourth wall just a little bit, if I do appear a little tired, I've been up since 12:30 a.m. for no particular reason. I mentioned not terribly long ago that I've been so much happier with life that like my sleep has been fantastic. And so when I wake up, I still wake up refreshed. And in this case, I woke up at 12:30 and I was wide awake. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm up now. And so it has been a longer day than usual. But yeah, just in case anyone's wondering, it's like, wow, Taylor seems just a little, sleepy today. That's why. More than the usual type 2 narcolepsy perpetual sleepiness. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into business here. How would you describe your mood before you transitioned, during, and after, if there is an after? Funny, I just mentioned about my sleep. Cool. So my mood before I transitioned was abhorrent. It was abhorrent to me. And I know that from the outside looking in, I was difficult to have an interpersonal relationship with because I was so incredibly guarded and perpetually miserable. I can't exactly say what my mood looked like, but I can say straight up, I hated everything around me. And not because of everything around me being poor, but I could not allow myself to find joy in it because I couldn't allow myself to find joy in me. As cliche as it is so true that you can't love anything and love anyone until you love yourself. And I did not love myself. I did everything I could to love people so that I could receive love. All that happened out of that was it made my mood worse when it wasn't being reciprocated the way that I needed, not wanted, needed. And the reality of all of it was that I needed to love myself with that same intensity. My mood was so vacant, so gray, so unenthusiastic. Now, what's funny with that is that people wouldn't have known if I was having an okay day. I could play the part of being social. I could play the part of being happy. I could play the part of being enjoyable to be around. I was able to do that, and that was important to me because I wanted to make sure that people felt happy in general. That part of me has never changed about wanting to do the best that I can to make sure that the people in my company are having a good time, whatever it is. That said, for people I was close to who were allowed to see me more vulnerable, saw my worst parts, and they didn't even see my worst parts. They saw they saw a rawness that I allowed myself to share, and it was the same broken record of essentially hating life. And it wasn't always talking about how the world was gloom and doom, but I was just I would be so cryptic or neutral in just the sense of I can't do it, I'm not happy, I'll never get what I want, and so on, right? Like I was not direct about what my heart was saying, but I was very loud about what my heart was needing. I want to say I'm sorry to everybody who has experienced that part of me. Hindsight being what it is, I wish that I was able to communicate more effectively. It wasn't right for me to let my attitude be louder than my feelings. It wasn't right for me to hope that people could read my mind and guide me towards a place that I needed to be. I didn't have the strength to do all of those things, and it was beating me up and it was eating me up. So to everybody who's experienced that mood, and I'm not just saying over the past, like, let's say 3 years ago to 5 years ago, from the moment before I decided to come out, from that moment earlier, my entire life was affected by not being allowed to be me for a variety of reasons, whether it was personal decision or social climate or whatever it would be. I was the farthest thing from my best self, and to everybody who I put that upon as if that was my best self, thank you for giving me that space to do that, and I'm sorry for letting that be your perception of me. For everyone who has known me pre-transition and is still around today, thank you for knowing this was critical for me being my best self. So thank you so much. I wouldn't be where I am without any of you who stuck with me. It's things like that never get forgotten. How was my mood during my transition? I've already mentioned a couple times about previous. So to put a star beside period of transition, I didn't really have a checklist of things that would be considered part of transitioning. Transitioning kind of started when I entered trans healthcare, so that would have been October 28th, 2019. I started HRT February 1st, 2020. I came out on my birthday, June 7th, 2020. I went socially full-time September 24th, 2020, and I received my birth certificate in the mail, I believe December 14th, but it was issued December 10th, 2020. Barely over a year. I also considered my transition to be done after I received my birth certificate. And I'll link the other video. Please check it out. That just explains more about how transition is different for other individuals. So just to put as a, kind of like to bookend that period of time, barely over 1 year and not even 1 year on HRT, and barely a few months of actual social full-time. So my mood during that was all over the place for two reasons. One, when you go on HRT, regardless of direction, for all intents and purposes, is like puberty 2.0. So the reality of having a, at the time 39, right? But yeah, so whatever. So I came out on my 39th birthday. So I'll just use a 39-year-old's body having the life experience of a 39-year-old, but the emotional maelstrom, I guess, of puberty certainly made things neat. And I'm definitely not saying that I was all over the place, but it was interesting when there would be emotions that I would feel that was maybe a little different than what I would have been used to in a past life. And it was a lot of, I was just kind of assessing those times during, if I would reflect on the day or whatever, and ask myself, is it because of the life experience that's currently happening and I'm assessing it in a different way because priorities are different or whatever it may be? Or is it hormones or whatever? So my mood was kind of all over the place. Now, what I will say, when I started transitioning, between then and when I kind of had that epiphany to be like, you have to create change, and came out, my mood was, I was frustrated because I felt like it just felt like so much more work than I was ready to do, and it just felt so different, and I just wanted life to be simple. And what was funny is, like, I was looking at the life that I had as the simple life, even though that's the life that I hated. So go figure. I was mad at how different it was, until I realized that it's not that it was different, it was real. And part of the reason why I felt like it was agitating me in the past, thinking that it was so rub your nose in it type of stuff, is because that visibility is essential. I didn't realize that at the time. When I started transitioning, I was expecting to essentially be no different than the same angry potato sitting in the corner office, except I would just allow myself to transition to the angry potato that I wanted to be. And similarly enough, I've said it tongue in cheek, if I was going to be miserable, at least I would be authentically miserable. I was expecting to just have potato mode sitting in the corner and just have this quiet, silent life, and so be it. Realizing the need for visibility was one of the most important things for me to go ahead and clear my head, because I have the ability to create visibility, and I did not know at the time how important that it was. I was frustrated from my own lack of awareness, but that changed pretty damn quick. Otherwise, after I came out, I felt like I could have floated to the ceiling with how much weight came off of me, and I was excited. And I wasn't excited about coming out to the world as, hey, look at me, pay attention to me. But I was just excited to finally not have to keep thinking about me, to just exist. To give an understanding about where a trans person's mind can be, pouring a glass of milk in a past life would have been full of me wondering, will I ever pour myself a glass of milk as myself? The most fundamental thing of going to the fridge and opening the jug of milk and grabbing a glass and pouring that in there should be as basic and robotic as it gets, except for the fact that I had all this constant self-talk and negative chatter about, why don't you do this as you? To have all of that gone was such a relief in just the mood and spirits and energy and attitude, and it was just absolutely unbelievable. And especially after I understood why there's so much visibility and advocacy in the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, because in a past life I was trying to live that white, cisgender, heterosexual male life. That's the life that I was used to. That's the life that I considered easy. And I didn't understand why there needed to be so much noise everywhere else. And believe me, I get it now. It is critically important. That was one of the biggest things with my mood during my transition. I had so much energy. I still have so much energy too, because I kind of came out of the gates hard when it came to advocacy too. I am very passionate about sports, and I've been working on getting included with different organizations regarding sports to advance their programming and policy making so that they are more trans inclusive, for the reason that sports being such a cornerstone of culture, if you can adapt and adjust those programs so that trans visibility happens there, that message resonates elsewhere. It resonates to the society that's part of that sports community, and so on and so on and so on. And the same with Energy 106 FM, hiring a transphobic morning show host, while also still calling themselves Winnipeg's strongest media LGBTQ plus allies. And on top of that, allowing violent abuse from right-wing, far right-wing, white extremists, white supremacists, white nationalist individuals to stalk and harass and defame and abuse and so on, while waving Energy's banner at the same time. Even though I've never listened to a second of Energy, as soon as I found out Like just from doom scrolling on Twitter. And I saw that and I'm like, whoa, you can't do that. That is such a terrible and horrible message. A lie, a smokescreen, deception, to go ahead and try to convince marginalized individuals that they're a safe space when they're doing everything but being a safe space. That is horrid, and that can and will harm somebody. My mood was, I was passionate. I am passionate on it. You better believe that I'm not just letting that one go. My mood has been passionate. I have been excited to live. I've been excited to wake up. I've been excited to advocate. I've been excited to just be. And that's how I've been during my transition, after my transition. I am so excited, grateful, happy, fill in the blank of all of those. That's how my mood has changed from pre-transition to today. Do you want being transgender to be part of what people remember you for? That is an awesome question. Remember, transgender as a word is typically an adjective. And so with that, when we're talking about an individual, is it relevant to the context of the story? A coworker in the past, and I know people use this as cliche all the time, but it's really frustrating, but would be like, oh, I was hanging out with my gay friend Steve or John or Joe or Jimmy or whatever the fuck his name was. I don't care if he's gay. And you know what? Maybe he doesn't want me to know. I have no idea who this person is, but you understand the point that I'm saying. I don't know who that person is. That is not an important piece of the story. And are you saying it to create judgment? Are you saying it to amplify your visibility? Are you using that to go ahead and create controversy? Are you using it to present yourself as an ally? Because, oh, I know a gay person, therefore I'm an ally, like, right? And similarly enough, this individual, as I just mentioned, might have told that coworker in confidence that they were gay. Or, you know, they might have been the most open and flamboyant person out there. Who knows? I don't know, because I don't know the person. But we don't know if that individual has shared their authenticity with a specific network of people, that everybody who they might be flamboyant to is a closed loop. We don't know those things. So using out of context descriptors aren't necessary, especially when they're so related to automatic judgment. I don't want people to remember me starting as, oh, this is Taylor, she's transgender. Leave it to me to go ahead and share that part. I know I'm visibly trans. I know that. I'll deal with that. If there's a part of the conversation and perhaps a question is asked about, is Taylor trans? Those are things that actually are supposed to be discussed with the trans person before it gets disclosed. Just by the way, the proper process is, let's say one knows I'm trans and one doesn't. And if that one that doesn't asks that other friend about me, that friend is supposed to ask me and be like, is it okay if I share that? Because there might be a reason why I haven't told that other person. That other person might be a bigot. That other person might actually be a very violent transphobe, and I know that. There are things that are important to consider when it comes to disclosing the identity of somebody else. So there are supposed to be checks and balances, and it starts with the people talking. I absolutely want people to recognize me as an advocate for trans inclusion in sports and trans awareness and so on and so on and so on. Absolutely. Everywhere that I'm out and about, my name is beside transgender. It's not a secret at all. But I don't want that to be the front of the story, because I'm the one doing the work, not the trans part of me. I'm the one that shows up to the grocery store. I'm the one that shows up to karaoke. I'm the one who shows up for Zoom calls. I'm the one who shows up to work. I, Taylor Lakhryst, am the one who shows up to do the day. I happen to be trans. So that's how, when it comes to memory, acknowledgement, recognition, context is critical. Because if you're adding it for color, you're adding it for controversy. And that's about you, not me. If one mystery was solved in your lifetime, what would you want it to be? Origin of the universe. The Big Bang is a theory. Well established, well understood. It's the most accepted concept of the origin of the universe, and the same when it comes to heat death being the end of the universe. Like science and math do a great job putting that all together. One thing that I love about the universe is also just its scope and scale. When they talk about, what is the shape of the universe, and is it infinite? Is it finite? Does the universe loop upon itself? Are there multiverses and so on? I love that type of stuff. I would love to have a definitive answer as to this is proven because of this, right? Because even when it comes to the Big Bang Theory, that everything makes sense up to, I can't remember the moment of time. It's like, whatever. Anyway, like it's the singularity of time. There's a moment that math and physics just collapses to get to the beginning of everything. And I would love to know that. I'd love to know that's what happened. And I'd love to know what happens later, especially considering the life of our universe is trillions of years is actually not even enough to consider the length of stars and black holes, right, of their life expectancy too. What happens when everything turns off? And speaking of things turning off, when it comes to death, I have here, I don't know if fear is the right word. It's a disturbing feeling thinking that things just go off. You can go ahead and try to clear your head. You can go ahead and go into sensory deprivation areas and whatever, but you're still on there. You're still like, there's things happening, right? Present. The idea of living a fulfilling life and then just is just nuts to me. I don't have a belief in an afterlife either, so it is kind of frustrating being in that position. I don't like the idea of what seems to be plausible. If I was able to go ahead and direct traffic just one way, when it was time for my lights to turn off, I would love to pretty much be able to have the universe like my sandbox and just to get close to stars, right? And just go forward or backwards in time and just kind of watch and observe everything happen. And especially, as I mentioned, to go to what essentially would be the beginning of time and to go to the end of time and just observe. I would love that. Now, that extent is definitely not getting solved in my own lifetime. Well, mind you, Webb's not even going to be able to pull that off, but, there's going to be so many amazing discoveries that, presuming that the James Webb Space Telescope is fully deploys and gets commissioned, there are going to be so many mysteries about earlier in the universe that will become available to us and solutions along with them. We're still not going to be able to get to the beginning of time because, as I mentioned, again, right, like math and physics collapse at that precise moment. I'm not going to get into it because this is typically a trans-based episode, but the question is, one mystery solved in my lifetime, and I love physics, right? And for somebody who only has high school, I love physics. I would love to see that mystery answered because that would completely redefine how our universe is understood, and nothing but good things can come from that. So that was kind of a nerdy finish, but again, one of the benefits of Dwell On It is to just ask for some insight from a trans individual, sometimes about trans things, sometimes about life things, sometimes about nothings, and this is a perfect example of kind of being all over the place when it comes out, so that was really exciting. Again, starting 2022 with a bang. I hope everyone is able to find and create happiness as necessary. Remember, you are in control of your happiness. You have an opportunity to make 2022 the type of year you want it to be. It's not going to be flawless for pretty much everybody, but remember, you are in control of what you are able to control. And so take advantage of that and don't let the things that you are able to control be defined by other people. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Take a look at the link below. Add your voice to that action page. Remember, I was talking earlier about Energy 106 FM. There's a great story in there about some of the consequences that our city in Winnipeg allowed, and part of my passion is to see systemic change upon systemic oppression. Harwell is always looking for new members, right? So please send me a DM or an email if you would like to offer your skills and your talents, your availability to go ahead and wear a hat from whatever department that is that you might fit best in. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to wrap up at this point here because I've been up since 12:30. So have a great week, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for starting your 2022 with me, and we will talk to you later.